What's good, YouTube? It's me, your boy Squiddy, back with another video. Today I want to quickly talk about Purrely's because this deck is kind of picking up steam lately. A lot of people are liking the cute creator companions, and I see a lot of misconceptions about the deck. I've been playing it for the past week or two, just, learning the plays and whatnot, experimenting with different things. Because there are actually different ways to build this deck. You can build it like going first. You can potentially build it going second just because Zeus, you can do like a Zeus Turbo. It plays a lot like pure Zoo. A lot of players are on like the discard engine, so we have like the Dark Worlds where you can go snow into Brow, or other players are playing like Volcanic Shell to search for that level 1 body, or even players that are playing the Crystal Beast Trap alongside 2 copies of the field spell, so you can add the Cobalt Eagle. So you're getting like free discards because all of these spells are discarding and you're kind of losing advantage. But the problem with the discards, I find, is that they don't really do anything on their own. And in a nutshell, it seems like it's good if you always draw quick play spell cards and you're able to resolve them and discard the cards. But typically, that's not what happens over like a long period of time. I find is that in like if you play like a 12-round tournament, I think the diminishing returns on the cards get a lot worse. You're gonna get hands with like hand traps and then like multiple snows, for example, or multiple bricks. You're gonna get hands sometimes where like your one quick play spell card is negated and you're not able to use those cards. The cards don't really do anything as bodies. They're not like on their own, they absolutely do nothing. They're just like more or less bricks that are just chilling in your deck that only work well when paired with another card. And despite the fact that the deck, your engine, is like half of the quick play spell cards, I don't really think that it's that good of an engine to play, to be honest. I was thinking that maybe hand traps might just be better. Hand traps and also heavy board breakers like Triple Tactics Talent. And then what Talents does, it sort of is a replacement for those discard cards because you're able to amass more advantage. You're able to draw 2 cards and take that extra +1 if your opponent chooses to interact with you. It's quite nice going to something like a Drone Lockbird. If you happen to play into it in your main phase, you can use this to rip a card out of their hand and then set up your board accordingly based on what else they have, the 3 cards that they have left in their hand. And I think that playing this deck, I think hand traps are just a lot more valuable. Going second, you're able to actually put up a defense. And then the other glaring issue about this deck is the fact that even if you have a Noir and a field spell plus a My Friend Purrely out, and you're able to add back like +5 off of a Kaiju or like a Kurikara when they tribute your Noir, the problem is most of the decks can just kill you on that turn, and that's a glaring issue with this deck. If you don't play enough hand traps, you can't draw into anything to protect you, and then you end up losing your Noir and they just OTK you that turn, so it doesn't even matter that you were able to add back cards, off of My Friend Purrely. So I feel like playing more hand traps is very correct in this deck because you're able to draw them in the standby phase off of your Sleepy Memories. You're able to survive a turn if they happen to Kaiju or get rid of Noir. Because let's face it, all the outs to Noirs right now are terrible. They're all neg-1s. Like your opponent's going to be adding back infinite cards off My Friend Purrely when you get Kaiju off of the Noir. So being able to draw into hand traps, you survive, and then on the following turn with the accumulation of cards that you've amassed from them Kaijuing your monster, you're able to play and then just win the game from there. And that's why I like a lot of cards like Effect Veiler as well. I'm choosing to play that, I think, in the main deck. It's a little better than Ashe in my opinion. Ashe just doesn't do enough against the top decks right now. It's okay against Kashtira, it's okay against Purrely's, it's okay against Super Heavy Samurai, but it's never enough on its own. I feel like it's only brutally good against Branded, so we side that, just for Branded. And I feel Veiler does a lot more because you're able to hit a lot more choke points that are reliant on monsters. So like against Super Heavy Samurai, you're going to be hitting the Link monster, right? The guy who discards a card to add. That one is one of their main choke points. It's quite heavy in their combo because they are forced to revive back their Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer a lot of times to play. It's not turn ending, but it does hurt them a lot more than an Ashe would on something like a the Big Monk Benkei, for example. And a lot of times they get Baron out before they equipped with Peacemaker, so you're not even able to Ashe that. So I feel like Veiler does a lot more. It's very good against Purrely's as well. You're able to Veiler like a Lily, you're getting a 2-for-1. They lose the search and they also can't use the effect to attach something in XYZ summon from their graveyard, right? So you get some dual utility there. For me, I just like that a lot more. And then Gamma and Dro are obviously the best ones. Same with Imperm, it's also very good because it can be used in draw step. A lot of players are choosing to play around Dro right now, so a lot of interactions are happening in the draw step. And I feel like Talents just, again, it does that. A lot of times this deck kind of struggles. You have to discard the hand traps going first. A lot of times you're just like, you're forced to discard the hand traps. It's weird. You feel like you're going neg, but it's definitely correct. And sometimes that just makes it a lot more volatile because you're susceptible to like one imperm. Sometimes one imperm on a Lily is just backbreaking. Like it hurts so bad. And your turn sometimes just crumbles from one hand trap. So playing like talents so you can amass advantage is very good. What you can do is you play out your turn, you play out your main phase, and if they don't have any hand traps, you end up just discarding the talents off of one of your quick plays anyways. So it's just there for like a failsafe, and I feel like it's a lot better than something like a Ghost Mourner, which would probably be my next hand trap of choice for this format. Because you have that dual utility, you're again able to rip a card out of your opponent's hand, you're able to draw cards to amass, discard to offset that advantage that you've lost. And you're able to break boards by taking control of something like an A-Rise Heart, making your own Zeus, or forcing them to banish their own A-Rise Hearts. And this deck is, again, you're not really going negative off of the cards. Let's say that you have a quick play spell card and like a discard. You activate the quick play, you discard a card, you special summon Purrely, you add a card back, a quick play back to your hand. So essentially you're going 0 for a net 0 gain, but you're also a net 0 loss. What you're really doing is establishing a Purrely body on the board for free without using your normal summon and replacing that quick play spell card in your hand, ideally if Purrely hits, which 80 to 90% of the time it should. But when you play a lot of hand traps, that kind of sucks as well because sometimes you miss. But so to speak, you're not really going negative. So like the Dark World engine, the other discards are just like additional advantage in my opinion. And yeah, so without further rambling, this is just what I chose to play. Just some more ghost spells. I just feel like it's very, very imperative against decks like Math Mech and also Branded. Trying out the Raw Spear Mode, don't know how good it is against Super Heavy Samurai because a lot of times the problem is they set up a board with Spell Cancer, Appaloosa, and Baron, so you kind of have 3 points of interaction to deal with, so not being reliant on your normal summon is quite nice. I did try Vanity's Fiend going first as well, but I found it clashed a lot with the deck. Number one, you have to be able to not use your normal summon. Number two, you have to be able to resolve a quick play spell card, and then number three, you have to ideally be able to get another XYZ on board, so you don't just have a Vanity's Fiend you're beating down and just like giving them turns to draw something that's an out, like an Imperm or like an Archfiend Eccentric, and then you just die. So I didn't really like that card. It was a little bricky in my opinion. Wanted to play some more cards going second because I feel like the deck does quite well going first as is because you're able to set up a Noir or some negates with a bunch of hand traps. It plays a lot like Pure Zoo. Trying out some Cosmic Cyclones. I think this card's also decent against Super Heavy Samurai. It's decent against Soul Peacemaker. It's decent against Wakushi, obviously. It's not a monster, so they cannot Gamma. And it's very good against Floodgates. And then just testing DD Crow. I don't know how good it is or how bad it is. The thought process is it has a lot of crossover. You can hit Math Mechs. You can hit against Purrelys. You can hit the target that they use with Purrely. Against Super Heavy Samurai, you can hit the target that they're trying to revive with the Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow. So there's just some like dual utility with there, just some cool plays that you can do here and there. And then extra deck's very generic. I feel like the extra deck for me is personally close to being solved. The only flex spots we have, in my opinion, are Dark, Lina, and the Fucho. The Fucho is really, really nice because when they have boards that don't have negates or they have like double Rise Heart, they're sort of forced to interact with you anytime you have 2 level 1s on the board, or else you're able to make a Fuko, attack into like a defense position monster, and then make Zeus immediately in the main phase too, so they can't really negate that. So that's the nice thing about this card. And obviously, a lot of times they might not banish your Purrelys when you have 2 bodies on board, so you just make this and you get a free Zeus for their entire board. The other card that you could also play is Slacker Magician, which is similar to Fuko. It says, once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by battle, so it's a little bit nicer that you can crash into an attack position monster and not be forced to detach 2 in order to save itself from being destroyed by battle. And then during either player's turn, when a card effect targets this face-up card, you can detach a material, negate, and destroy. So it's kind of nice. It protects you against a Rise Heart or cards like that try to get rid of it when you're on the attack. And then Lina and Dark are just generically good, I feel like, in the mirror match because you can revive stuff. You can revive Purrelys and Purrelys. A lot of times they imperm your Purrely, so you're able to make a Dark and then just revive their Purrely and use the effect to make a big Zeus after you make like a big pump in the main phase too. And it's also nice because a lot of players are playing D-barriers, so you could potentially play Nightmare Unicorn as well, just to have another point of interaction after they D-barrier you, so you can remove something that's stuck on the board. That does come up as well, but I feel like the rest of the cards are very, very crucial. Sylvan Princess Sprite is an absolute staple. You always need this to dig for like another quick play spell card, so you can get 5 materials onto your plump to make the Noir on your turn typically. And then Assembled Nightingale is just good to make Zeus for free, being able to attack directly. And yeah, it's just very good. I feel like the rest of the ratios are just set in stone. There isn't a lot of flex room. Some people are playing the Lyrilisk Canary as well. Or the Ensemble Robin rather. I just don't feel like this card comes up enough. It's a little bit weak. It's easily outed by battle. For example, even if you have a Nor out and they go normal summon something and they go attack, you're forced to kind of Nor that normal summon. You normally might not have done it because it's just like not a card you want to interact with, but because you're threatening your Ensemble Robin, you're kind of forced to play poorly in that manner, in that aspect. And a lot of times I find myself making Princess Sprite instead just to get more materials to make that Noir. It rarely comes up where my hand is so good that I'm able to make an Ensemble Robin. If it is, then probably winning already. So that's my justification for that. I'm going to show you guys a quick little replay just to show you what I mean with this deck. Say we have like a hand like this where we have 3 hand traps and 2 discards, which is quite common. So here, like obviously a lot of players would think that you would just discard the other quick play, but in my opinion, it's really bad to do that because obviously you would be forced to go into Noir to search your Mind Friend, but if they Imperm or do Ghost Mourner or anything that interacts with that, you're kind of stuck with 3 hand traps in your hand and you pass your hand. So you pass your turn. So in my opinion, I think it's better to discard a hand trap here. It seems weird, but in this deck, you have to treat hand traps like currency. You just discard the worst one to be able to play. So then that way, I'm going to summon out Purrely, and most people don't Imperm Purrely. They're going to wait for Purrely Lily, because Purrely Lily is multiple times per turn, whereas Purrely Lily is once per turn, so it's kind of a choke point for the deck. And even if they Imperm here, we still have like the second quick play to continue playing, right? So it's kind of nice here. We're going to discard Baylor because it's the worst hand trap of the 3, in my opinion. Can only be used in main phase. Imperm can be used in draw step, can be used on our turn, can be used to negate face downs, and then draw is just a blanket, right? So it's very good to keep. So we're just going to use the Purrely effect. Ideally, we're going to be able to replenish and then have another discard for our Purrely Delicious Memory, which we do. We're going to add Sleepy so we can set up the pump combo here. And then we're just going to activate the Sleepy Memory here. So here we can just discard the Delicious and go into Lily. Even if they Imperm or Ghost Mourner here, we're still in like a decent position where we can actually play because we're able to make Sylvan Princess Sprite and just like hope we dig for another quick play spell card and then activate that and continue to play. So that's my opinion of that there. You could make another argument for discarding potentially one of these hand traps as well. And then that way you're just protected completely from Imperm, right? Because you just go for a second Purrely and then you still have the other Delicious Memory in your hand. So then once you add something, you can just Delicious Memory there. And then you're able to make Sylvan Princess Sprite and keep your Pure Lily as well. So other things to think about. Gonna go activate My Friend Purrely. Obviously this is in draw step just to play around Drill and Lockbird. Gonna go main phase here. Activate and hope this resolves. The nice thing about My Friend is if you have Purely Happiness, the quick play, you can actually protect this from Ghost Ogre. So that's one thing to keep note of, guys. Really, really important. We're just going to go for Purely Pretty Memory and then a Leap here. We're, again, playing around Drill and Lockbird. So any of these cards that we add are still going to be an interaction. If we added Purely Leap, we would be able to leap on top of the plump that we're going to go into on their turn to make a fat Noir with 5 materials. And I think we probably should have just used Purrely Lily ahead of time just to make sure that they don't have like anything like Ghost Ogre in case they were holding it, but that's all right. And then we're going to go into our plump, generic. And then here, it's really important that we have this quick play spell card because it's the only way that we can actually make plump into a rank 5 on our turn. So it's kind of nice. Or 5 materials into the rank up rather. So we're going to go ahead and use the effective plump, attach the 2 sleepies. Guarantee us to drop it, 2 draws in their standby phase. If we had the trap, we could draw 4. It would have been nice, but again, you can't play more copies of the trap, so it's never guaranteed. Gonna go ahead and use the Pretty Memory. One thing that we could have done actually to guarantee the trap is actually search the trap off of Purrely Lily, but I don't know if that's really correct because you're kind of susceptible to other things like effect failure on the Lily in the main phase, and then you just kind of have that dead trap chilling in your hand. So that's why I think adding My Friend is a lot safer in that scenario. Gonna activate the Purrely Pretty Memory. We don't have to summon again. So like here, obviously we can go into the Sylvan. If we discard the Imperm, we can add another quick play off the Purrely and then Sylvan for potential another card. But guys, think about it. Imperm is one of the interruptions that we want to have, right? I can't think of a possible other card that would be better to hit off of the Sylvan than Imperm. So what's the point of taking that gamble by discarding the Imperm and hoping we hit another interaction when we already have the interaction, right? So that's why I just choose, I think it's better to just keep the Imperm in hand. We're just gonna Pretty Memory for the 5th material so we can make Noir, set the Imperm. And then on their turn, we get 2 draws. So we're setting up a huge board with a Noir that has 5 5 materials, so it has 2 interruptions. We have the Imperm and we have the Drone Lockbird, and then on top of all that, we have my friend Purrely to add back any of these quick play spell cards if our Nora happens to be outed. So as long as we survive this turn, we're in a good spot, more or less. So that's how I think the deck should be played, like just playing a lot of hand track, trying to survive your opponent's pushes, and then just making a play, making a huge Zeus on the consecutive turn. But yeah, if you guys have any thoughts, definitely let us know. And other than that, we will see you in the next video.